The rematch between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko at Noche UFC was spectacular, lived up to the hype in every way you could imagine. A much better back and forth fight than the first time around when they met. Goes all 5 rounds, and at the end of it, we do not get a winner. The fight ends in a split draw as Grasso and Shevchenko get 1 scorecard each, and then there's a draw in there courtesy of Judge Mike Bell, who scored the 5th round, a very controversial 10-8 in Grasso's favor, ultimately turning the tide. Otherwise, it would have been a split decision win for Shevchenko, and she would have regained the belt. All of this feels very unresolved between these two, and I think it needs to be resolved with a trilogy fight that should be next, in my opinion. But there's the big issue in the room, and that is one of Valentina Shevchenko's hand. She seems to injure it in the first round of this fight, where a cast to the post-fight press conference and cast some doubt about when her timeline to be returning would look like, and for that reason you just don't really know exactly what's going to happen here. I think if she was healthy and ready to go, you do this again, but it's ultimately going to come down to what the UFC thinks and how they want to work with Grasso's future. Do they feel this is unresolved and in need of another fight between these two? Do they think a Grasso versus Shevchenko 3 is the big marquee fight that should be made in this division? If so, I think they tell Grasso she's going to have to wait. Maybe you try to book that fight in Mexico, the 3rd meeting between them, something of that sort. But if they want to go in another direction and keep Grasso active, there's of course no shortage of potential challengers for her at this point. Manon Fiorot out there, Aaron Blanchfield was cage side. They have both warranted title shots in their own careers. We've talked about after their wins in recent weeks, and I think you could put either one of them in there at this point. I think both would be justified, both would be rightful contenders, but maybe this situation sets up with them having to face off against each other and determine that clear number 1 contender for after a Grasso-Shevchenko trilogy fight. So a lot of different ways the UFC could go in this direction. The only clear thing at this point seems to be Shevchenko's injury, and that is probably going to keep her out for several months at this point, and outside of that, it's all up in the air. But personally speaking, I think we need part 3. I think we need resolution, especially because many people, myself included, felt Shevchenko won this fight at Noche UFC.